All right, hey guys. So today I'm going to be covering the Humble Best of Bandai Namco bundle. This came out yesterday. It is a rather expensive bundle. It goes from $1 to $12, and then it jumps up to $19 for the beat the average. But you might as well pay $20 for the final tier. But there's some great games here. I like quite a few of the Bandai Namco titles. But the first tier includes Pacman 256. This is a variation of the classic Pacman. Lots of interesting levels and creative mechanics to try to modernize the game. It does a great job, honestly. It is pretty fun, but don't expect this one to include the classic Pac-Man game, which I always find kind of weird with these Pac-Man reboots. Why not also include the base games of like Pac-Man and Miss Pac-Man? Some people just want to play the original, but otherwise it has great reviews, so certainly worthwhile picking up in the $1 tier. And then the second tier at $12, there's some great titles here. First up, we have Tekken 7, which is an action-packed fighting game, and honestly, it's my favorite fighting series of all time, likely because when I was younger, I remember playing Tekken 2 and Tekken 3 back on the original PlayStation. But anyway, Tekken 7 is far easier to learn than the likes of Street Fighter, and even has a nice help button for beginners to execute each character's combos. I also suggest watching some of the Tekken 7 tournaments on YouTube. They're very exciting and fun to watch. And then we have Tales of Berseria, which is an anime-style fantasy JRPG with a great story and very likable characters. The gameplay is pretty solid, but it does get a bit repetitive after a while. If you like JRPGs, you'll certainly enjoy this game. It has over 45 hours of content, so it's definitely worthwhile. And then the final game in the second tier is Katamari Reroll. This is a remaster of the original Katamari Damacy. I played through all the Katamari games, and when I was younger, it was one of my favorite games on the PlayStation 2. Essentially, you have a gravity ball and you go around the world picking up stuff. As you pick up more stuff, the ball gets bigger, allowing you to pick up bigger stuff, and at the end, you turn the ball into a star. It's really a silly Japanese indie game, but it's a lot of fun, and I highly recommend it. So if you decide to pick up the second tier for $12, then you have to decide if you want to pay an extra $8 to get 5 more games. I certainly think it's worthwhile paying an extra $8. There's some good games thrown in here. So first up, we have Tales of Zestiria, which is actually older than Tales of Berseria, but many people would agree it's just not as good. It's missing some of the charm from the previous titles. I personally tried to force myself through this many years ago, got about like 8 hours into it, and just gave up. I was just really bored and just not really into the story or characters. However, it does have a lot of content, so perhaps the later half of the game gets better. Generally speaking, most JRPGs are a bit slow paced at the start, but I will say Tales of Zestiria does have some great graphics, and it does have a little bit of charm in its own way. Then we have a game called Rad. I haven't played this game, but it's a 3D action roguelike in a post-apocalyptic setting. If you like roguelikes, there's surely plenty to like here. The style is interesting, and there's plenty of mutations and abilities to keep each run feeling different. I enjoy roguelikes, so I'll probably jump into this a little bit later. And then there's Little Nightmares Complete Edition. This is a side-scrolling horror adventure puzzle game that is very atmospheric and has an ever so charming, whimsical vibe to it. If you played Limbo or Inside, Little Nightmares has a very similar feel to it. So that was the beat the average tier, but if you pay $1 extra, you get 2 very expensive games, so you might as well. So first up, we have Code Vane. This is another JRPG, but it's more like a Dark Souls type game where you fight through challenging bosses. It's set in a post-apocalyptic dystopian vampire-themed world with all sorts of supernatural abilities. The graphics are great character design, and just plenty of content. Certainly worth paying an extra $1 for. And then finally, we have Project Cars 3. This is a hit or miss depending on your preference. The original 2 games were racing sims that focus more on authentic racing, and they were honestly great games, but Project Cars 3 is more of an arcade racing game. It doesn't feel realistic, especially when like a Mustang can outpace a supercar. However, if you like games like Need for Speed or Forza, where you prefer using a controller, you may actually enjoy this one. So those are all the games in this bundle. Like I said before, it is quite expensive for a Humble Bundle, especially considering the Humble choice is only $12. But if you're missing all of the games, I definitely recommend picking up the second tier. Tekken 7 is a fantastic fighting game, Tales of Berseria is a fantastic JRPG, and Katamari Damacy is a super fun little indie game that I highly recommend. The $1 tier, might as well pick that one up. And then it's really your choice if you want to pay the extra $8 for the rest of the games. I think it's worthwhile, like basically less than $2 per game. So it's up to you really. But if you do decide to pick up the full bundle, I do have a referral link if you want to help support me. I get like a few dollars from your purchase, so it doesn't hurt to use my little referral link. And also, just to quickly mention, the Humble Choice includes Metro Exodus for this month, along with a bunch of other games. So if you're interested in subscribing to the Humble Choice, I highly recommend doing so. Those are the best game bundles in my opinion. Normally, there's very highly rated, highly reviewed games, and normally you get one or two like AAA or higher end titles than normal bundles. So yeah, the Humble Choice for this month is definitely excellent with Metro Exodus. And if you want to see my previous video on the Humble Choice, I made it like a couple weeks ago. That's it for this video. Thanks for watching and have a nice day.